Imagine this. The person who once controlled every part of your life suddenly realizes you're gone. They've lost their grip and panic sets in. Not just any panic, a narcissist's panic. Today, we're breaking down the 5 stages every narcissist goes through when they finally see you've given up, so you can understand their chaos without getting pulled back in. You've felt it, haven't you? That moment when they reach out again, sending messages that confuse you, leaving you questioning yourself. That's stage 1 in action. And the wild thing, each stage escalates their panic in ways most people never see coming. When a narcissist realizes you've truly given up, the first stage they enter is denial, and it can be shockingly intense. They simply cannot accept that the dynamic they once controlled has slipped from their grasp. In their mind, you are supposed to obey, respond, and remain within the orbit of their influence. Denial is their way of refusing the truth that you are no longer accessible, that their power over you has weakened. During this stage, they might act as if nothing has changed, sending subtle messages or attempting to provoke a reaction that would confirm you are still engaged. They might claim they don't understand why things ended or try to manipulate events to suggest you left by mistake, not by choice. They often reinterpret your boundaries, framing them as temporary obstacles rather than permanent decisions, because admitting otherwise would force them to face a loss they are unprepared to acknowledge. This stage is often accompanied by cognitive distortion. They tell themselves and sometimes others that you will eventually return, that the relationship is still intact in some way. Their denial is fueled by the narcissist's inability to tolerate vulnerability or loss, because those feelings are profoundly threatening to their self-image. They might increase monitoring behaviors such as checking social media or inquiring through mutual contacts to reassure themselves that your presence still exists in some form they can control. In essence, denial is the narcissist's shield against reality, a temporary protective mechanism that allows them to maintain the illusion of control while their world begins to feel increasingly unstable and unmanageable. This stage sets the tone for the subsequent waves of panic as the narcissist moves from disbelief to more desperate, reactive behaviors. Once denial fails and the narcissist realizes that you are genuinely stepping away, their panic shifts into anger and blame. This is the stage where their carefully constructed illusion of control starts to crumble, and the fear of losing you completely triggers intense frustration. They may lash out in ways that feel shocking or unpredictable, often projecting their feelings onto you. Everything that goes wrong, even tangentially, is reframed as your fault. Their anger is rarely about reality. It's about the loss of control and the exposure of their vulnerability, emotions they cannot tolerate acknowledging directly. During this phase, the narcissist often employs blame as a weapon. They might accuse you of being ungrateful, cold, or unreasonable, twisting your decisions into personal attacks against them. They might also create narratives that paint you as the one who is overreacting or misunderstanding them, attempting to pull you back into defending yourself. Any boundary you've set is perceived as a challenge to their dominance, and their responses may escalate from passive-aggressive jabs to overt aggression. They may vent online, manipulate mutual friends, or send messages designed to provoke guilt or fear, all in an effort to regain some sense of authority over the situation. Behind the outward rage, the narcissist is experiencing panic. The loss of your engagement forces them to confront the reality they've avoided. They are not omnipotent, and their carefully curated image of control is slipping. Their anger is a mask for fear and vulnerability, but it can feel very real and threatening to the person on the receiving end. Understanding this stage allows you to see through the fury and recognize that it is not about you personally, but about the narcissist's inability to accept loss. Recognizing this helps you maintain detachment and protect yourself from being drawn back into their chaotic emotional spiral. After the narcissist's denial and anger fail to regain control, they often move into the stage of bargaining. This is where their panic becomes more calculated, and they attempt to pull you back using charm, promises, or carefully constructed apologies. Bargaining is not about genuine remorse, it's a strategic effort to regain the emotional supply they feel slipping away. They may promise to change, to do better, or to meet your needs, but these assurances are often superficial, aimed at easing their own anxiety rather than reflecting a true transformation. During this stage, the narcissist may employ tactics designed to appeal to your emotions. They might remind you of the good times, exaggerate the depth of your connection, or highlight ways in which you supposedly need each other. This manipulation can be subtle, like sending a thoughtful message or gift, or overt, such as dramatic pleas or grand gestures meant to elicit guilt or sympathy. Their bargaining is essentially a test. If you respond even minimally, it reinforces their belief that they still hold power over you. If you resist, their panic intensifies, and the bargaining becomes more desperate or elaborate. This stage often reveals the narcissist's underlying fear and insecurity. While they present a calm, conciliatory front, internally they are anxious, monitoring your reactions closely, and adjusting their strategies to try to break your boundaries. The panic is palpable, but cleverly disguised behind a mask of affection or reasonableness. They may attempt to create scenarios where you feel responsible for their emotional well-being, subtly implying that your departure has caused them suffering. Understanding the bargaining stage is crucial because it allows you to see through the facade and remain detached. Recognizing that these gestures are not rooted in genuine accountability, but in fear and manipulation, helps you maintain your boundaries and avoid being drawn back into the cycle of control. This awareness strengthens your position, letting you move forward without being swayed by the narcissist's calculated efforts to reel you back in. By the time a narcissist reaches the stage of fear and anxiety, the reality of losing you has fully set in, and the panic becomes much deeper and more personal. Unlike earlier stages where denial or anger masked their vulnerability, this stage exposes the raw, internal turmoil they experience when they recognize that their emotional supply is gone. They begin to feel a sense of emptiness, not in a healthy, reflective way, but as an urgent threat to their self-image and sense of control. The thought of abandonment triggers intense worry about how they are perceived, the potential exposure of their manipulative behaviors, and the loss of influence over your life. During this stage, a narcissist may become hypervigilant. They monitor your activities closely, check social media obsessively, or use mutual connections to gather information about you. Every small sign of independence on your part can amplify their anxiety, fueling irrational thoughts and fantasies about how they might regain control. Their fear is often expressed indirectly. They may send ambiguous messages, make veiled threats, or attempt to provoke guilt. These behaviors are less about reconnecting authentically and more about quelling their inner panic and reasserting a sense of dominance they feel slipping away. Internally, the narcissist's anxiety is overwhelming because it confronts them with their own vulnerabilities, things they cannot tolerate acknowledging openly. They are forced to face the fact that their image, carefully constructed to project strength and superiority, is fragile and can be undermined. This stage can make them act erratically, oscillating between frantic attempts to reach you and moments of withdrawal as they try to regroup emotionally. Understanding this stage is essential for maintaining your detachment. Recognizing that their behavior stems from fear rather than genuine concern or love allows you to respond with clarity and maintain your boundaries. The fear and anxiety stage is the tipping point where desperation intensifies, setting the stage for the final attempts at manipulation or self-pity that follow in the next stage. When a narcissist reaches the stage of desperation and self-pity, their panic is at its peak. By now, they have exhausted denial, anger, and bargaining, and the reality that you have truly given up is undeniable. This stage is marked by frantic attempts to regain some sense of control, often paired with dramatic displays of sadness or vulnerability. However, these emotions are rarely authentic. They are carefully crafted performances meant to elicit a reaction, to pull you back into the cycle of engagement. They want to convince themselves and others that you are the one who has caused their suffering, while masking their own accountability. During this stage, the narcissist may employ emotional manipulation with a sense of urgency. They might send long, pleading messages, post public displays of regret, or create situations designed to make you feel guilty for leaving. They may oscillate between appearing helpless and attempting to charm, trying every tactic they know to break through your boundaries. This desperation is fueled by their inner fear of exposure, loneliness, and the realization that their influence over you is slipping permanently. Every tactic is a calculated attempt to restore the supply they have lost. Internally, the narcissist experiences a mix of anxiety, frustration, and shame, but it is usually superficial. Even when they appear remorseful, it is often a strategic act rather than a genuine recognition of harm. Their self-pity is a tool designed to manipulate your emotions, and if you respond, it validates their attempts to regain control. If you remain detached, however, they are forced to confront a rare and uncomfortable truth. They cannot coerce, charm, or manipulate their way back into your life. Understanding this final stage allows you to remain strong and protected. Recognizing that their desperation and self-pity are manipulative rather than genuine helps you maintain clarity and peace. When you refuse to engage, the narcissist eventually must face the reality of loss, and your detachment becomes a powerful act of self-preservation. Once a narcissist has gone through denial, anger, bargaining, fear, and desperation, there comes a period of long-term adjustment, though it looks very different from what you might expect. At this point, they have faced the undeniable reality that you have truly given up, and their immediate panic begins to fade. However, this calm is not necessarily growth or accountability. It is often a strategic recalibration. They may shift focus toward self-preservation, carefully managing their image, or seeking new sources of supply elsewhere. The loss forces them to confront, at least subconsciously, that their usual methods of control do not always succeed, which can trigger subtle changes in behavior. But these are typically surface level, aimed at protecting their ego rather than repairing the harm they caused. During this stage, the narcissist may reflect selectively on their actions, sometimes feeling frustration, irritation, or even fleeting shame. But their introspection is often shallow and self-centered. It is about avoiding future exposure or loss rather than truly empathizing with those they hurt. They may take steps to avoid repeating the same obvious mistakes, mask vulnerabilities more carefully, or construct new manipulative strategies for future relationships. The panic that once drove frantic behaviors now transforms into quiet vigilance, with the narcissist monitoring opportunities, reputations, and potential sources of control. For the person who has given up, understanding this stage is empowering. It shows that while a narcissist may never fully change or acknowledge wrongdoing, their influence over you diminishes permanently once you detach. Their long-term adjustment may involve subtle shifts, but it does not threaten your autonomy if you maintain boundaries. Recognizing this stage allows you to walk away fully, confident that their panic is over, but your freedom is secure, and that true healing happens when you are no longer entangled in their emotional turbulence. After the intense panic of losing you has passed, a narcissist may enter a phase of subtle recovery and image management. By now, they have accepted, at least superficially, that they cannot pull you back, and their frantic attempts have ended. However, this does not mean they have changed. They often begin to carefully reconstruct their public persona, repair reputations, or cultivate new sources of attention to maintain the illusion of success and control. This stage is driven by self-interest. They are motivated by fear of exposure and the need to maintain social standing, rather than genuine self-reflection or remorse. During this period, the narcissist might reach out in carefully calculated ways. They may appear calm and composed, sharing success stories or attempting to present themselves as stable and self-improving. These gestures are usually surface level. Their primary goal is to reassure themselves and others that they are still in control of their life and relationships. Occasionally, they might use subtle manipulations to test whether boundaries are still intact, sending messages or making indirect contact to gauge your reactions. Their behavior can be confusing for those who have moved on, because it often mimics growth or vulnerability, but it is rooted in self-preservation rather than accountability. Internally, the narcissist experiences a mix of frustration and self-interest. They recognize that losing you was a setback to their supply, and while they may briefly reflect on the relationship, the reflection rarely leads to deep change. Their recovery is strategic, aimed at preventing future losses and preserving their ego. For those who have given up, understanding this stage is empowering. It clarifies that any post-panic contact or apparent change is not a signal to re-engage, but rather an illustration of the narcissist's ongoing self-focused navigation of loss. Recognizing this allows you to remain detached, protect your boundaries, and maintain your freedom without being drawn back into their emotional cycle. Stage 8 is less about the narcissist and more about you, the person who finally chose to give up and reclaim their life. By this point, you have detached emotionally, firmly established boundaries, and allowed yourself to step out of the cycle of manipulation. The narcissist's panic, their attempts at denial, anger, bargaining, fear, and desperation have all passed, and their behavior no longer holds power over your emotions. This stage represents the ultimate consequence of your decision, freedom from the chaos and control they once exerted. During this period, you begin to notice clarity and calm that were previously impossible. You no longer question yourself or replay past interactions endlessly in your mind. Without the constant need to respond or manage their reactions, your focus shifts inward toward your own growth, healing, and stability. The narcissist may still attempt subtle manipulation, reaching out sporadically or testing boundaries, but you are equipped to recognize these behaviors without reacting. This awareness is a product of the strength you built by observing the patterns of their panic and refusing to participate in them. Emotionally, this stage allows you to process the relationship on your own terms. You gain perspective on the manipulations, the gaslighting, and the control tactics they used, and you understand that their behavior was never a reflection of your worth. This empowers you to set new standards for relationships, to recognize toxicity earlier, and to maintain your independence in the future. Your emotional detachment is not indifference. It is clarity, self-respect, and the conscious choice to protect your well-being. Ultimately, stage 8 is the victory that the narcissist fears but cannot prevent. While they may continue to navigate their panic or reconstruct their image elsewhere, you experience peace, freedom, and growth. This stage completes the cycle. The narcissist faces the reality of loss, and you step fully into your power, no longer entangled in their emotional turbulence, secure in the knowledge that your life is yours to direct. In the end, what you've witnessed is the full arc of a narcissist's panic when you finally give up. From denial to anger, bargaining, fear, desperation, and beyond, each stage reveals their deep need for control and the fragility that drives their behaviors. But the most important takeaway is not their panic, it's your freedom. The moment you step away and establish firm boundaries, you reclaim your power, your clarity, and your peace. You are no longer a participant in their emotional chaos. Understanding these stages helps you see the patterns without getting pulled back in. You begin to recognize that their attempts at manipulation, charm, or self-pity are never about genuine change. They are always about regaining control. And when you remain detached, you show them what they fear most, that your life, your emotions, and your decisions are yours alone. This is not just the story of their panic, it is your story of empowerment. It is proof that when you prioritize your well-being, set clear boundaries, and refuse to be manipulated, you emerge stronger and more resilient. While they may attempt to recover, manipulate, or rebuild their image, you have already reclaimed your peace, your self-respect, and your independence. Ultimately, giving up on a narcissist is not a loss. It is the most powerful act of self-preservation and growth. Their panic may be dramatic, but your detachment is permanent. And in that permanence, you find freedom, clarity, and the opportunity to live your life fully on your own terms, without the weight of their control ever shadowing you again.